A big thanks to the After Drive team for the entertaining program. StyFM, sounding good all the time. Thank you for choosing us and good evening. My name is George Msumba and the program is State of Affairs, the premium current affairs show that brings you fair, current and objective discussions and analysis of current events in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is poised to make a significant presence at the 2025 OSAKA Expo in Japan, which is just around the corner. With over 20 million visitors anticipated, this 6-month event running from April 13 to October 13, 2025 offers a prime chance for Zimbabwe to strengthen its trade ties with Japan and the global community. The country is targeting a minimum of 3 million visitors to its strategically located pavilion, where it will highlight its investment opportunities, a natural splendor, vibrant culture and rich heritage. By participating at the Expo 2025, Zimbabwe can showcase its appeal to a worldwide audience, increasing awareness of its attractiveness as a desirable destination for living, working, studying, visiting and conducting business. As Zimbabwe prepares to shine on the global stage, we'll be examining the country's objectives, strategies and expectations for this prominent event. To help me delve into OSAKA 25 Expo, I'm joined in the studio by Napoleon Nyani. He's the chairperson Zimbabwe Day and member of the National Organizing Committee for OSAKA 25. Welcome, Napoleon.
Thank you, George. Good evening to the listeners.
Okay, I was just tempted there to say the Napster. You used to sit on this desk, but now on a bigger role, a national role. I hope you enunciate some of the objectives that we'll be aiming for at OSAKA.
Thank you.
Also on the program, Munyaradzi Wengwere, the executive chairperson of and CEO of Buy Zimbabwe. Welcome, Munya. Thank you so much for coming through. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Senguva dzose makasununguka kutinyorerawo muchirongwa muchitipawo pfungwa dzenyu nekuda kwegungano guru iri richaitirwa kuJapan uye kuti Zimbabwe ingabatsirike sei kusimudzira upfumi hwenyika. To your valued listeners, please feel free to join the conversation on our WhatsApp platform 0772 162 651 0772 162 651. Napoleon, let's get started. If you can just start by providing an update on the preparations for the OSAKA 25 Expo, which begins next Sunday.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Vamsumba. The OSAKA 25 Expo is well underway. The preparations are at a very advanced stage. A lot has already happened, and we're excited. Zimbabwe is running under the theme Beyond the Limits. And when we say beyond the limits, we're talking about the possibilities when it comes to Zimbabweans, when it comes to our potential as Zimbabwe, and when it comes to our appetite for engagement. We want to go beyond any of the limits that have been set by ourselves or that have been set by anybody else who has interacted with us as Zimbabweans. So this is the vision of where we want to go, and would like the people that are in OSAKA that will be attending the Expo to know this and to engage with us with that in mind. In terms of preparations, there is a team that is already in OSAKA now, and they've been preparing and making sure that the pavilion is in proper condition for the launch. That will be on the 13th of April. That's next week, as you mentioned. So the team is on the ground, making sure that all the preparations are in place. Actually, on the 6th of April, they had a test run of our Expo Center or our pavilion, and it's looking good. We were also trying to test the interest in our style and in what we are offering. And I must say, it's going to be quite exciting because the interest that has already been generated before the launch of the OSAKA Expo is already high. We've got a very unique offering and something that is very different from many of the other countries. So we're excited about the potential in terms of visitors to the pavilion. So in terms of preparations, we are pretty much ready. And this is about a week before the start of the event, but literally on the ground, everything is set.
Wonderful. We don't want to go there and then find that we are still shipping stuff to to the pavilion. But as Napoleon is saying, we are ready to get going. Munyaradzi, if you can just share some highlights from your preparations for Osaka 25 Expo, how do you plan to showcase Zimbabwe's unique products to the Japanese market and other visitors? And what will set our products apart from what other nations will be displaying?
You know, I'm fortunate that this is the second time that Zimbabwe is in Japan. You remember 2005, we also had a World Expo in Japan. So at least from a Zimbabwean point of view, we're familiar with the Japanese market. And if the experience from 2005 is anything to go by, what the Japanese fall in love with, and I think this has been spoken about Japanese culture, before you sell anything, they need to like you. They need to love you. And I think from that point of view, the most important thing we must sell as Zimbabwe, or we must market as Zimbabwe, is us, the people of Zimbabwe. So they are looking forward to understanding Zimbabweans, what makes us tick, the music, and I'm glad the chairperson of the National Day is Napoleon, who is also the CEO of the National Arts Council. And I think that's very important because sometimes we underestimate the role of the arts in selling and marketing the much more complex products that we have. And look, Zimbabwe is what? 0.2% of the world, which means 99.8% of the world is in Osaka. So it's a great opportunity for us as Zimbabwe to sell ourselves, to market the goods and services that we have as a country.
Mm. From a Buy Zimbabwe perspective, are you ready in terms of the company representation, which will go to Japan, and which particular aspect or companies are you looking at to target to go there?
It's a wide array. It's a wide array. Japan is, if my recollection serves me well, in the top 5 in terms of the world economy, in terms of the GDP. And what they look for, if again I'll go back to 2005, Japan was saying we want to get all the minerals we can from Zimbabwe. They were looking at that particular time from coking coal, for instance. And so what you find is that Japan are interested from tourism to mining to manufacturing. And also, if you just look at the trade, Japan and Zimbabwe right now, we export from Japan on an annual basis about 71 million. We import from Japan about 71 million US dollars, mainly in terms of machinery. We, unfortunately, only export to Japan in the range of about just under 19 million. So the room for growth from whether looking about agricultural products or looking for the whole diverse range of products that we make in Zimbabwe is huge.
Osaka is about mixing culture and business. And Napoleon, talking of culture, Zimbabwe Day. What is Zimbabwe Day all about during the Osaka 25 Expo? Take us through specific activities and events that attendees can expect. I know the last Expo, Praise performed there. What will be on showcase? If you can just explain to our listeners what Zimbabwe Day is all about.
Thank you very much. So, as you mentioned, every country that exhibits or that has got a pavilion at the Expo gets one day where they are celebrated, and all the focus of the event will be on that one country on that one day. So Zimbabwe is exhibiting in Osaka from the 13th of April until the 13th of October. That's the full length of the Expo. It's 6 months. However, within those 6 months, pane one zua rozonzi, this day is only for Zimbabwe. So that's the day that you're talking about, the Zimbabwe Day. We are very excited about that because this is our opportunity to really showcase who we are. I really like what Koma Munyaradzi said about the role of the arts in positioning brand Zimbabwe, where at the end of the day, Kanatapedza says you realize that what people really want from you is to understand who you are, understand your culture, understand your practices, and what the young people would call the vibes. We just want to get your vibe. Umboreani. And we if we fall in love with your vibe, it's easier for us to then buy your products. It's easier for us to be more interested in what you have to offer. So as a nation, we are putting the arts in front. Trukunyanya kutengesa culture. So that at the end of the day, when our business people then get into the field and start trying to close the deals, start trying to get the MOUs signed, it's much easier because they would have fallen in love with who we are. So that's the essence of the National Day. It's a program where His Excellency, the President of Zimbabwe, will be hosted by the President of Japan, and there will be a program where they will both sit and enjoy Zimbabwean culture. We've got a very elaborate program that we've put together in terms of our cultural exhibition and our cultural performances. We've got performances that are in so many spaces, from dance, poetry, instruments, our mbira, marimba, and then there's music, there's theater, there's fashion. There's a lot of things that we want to exhibit in terms of who we are as Zimbabweans. And we've got arts as well, just in general, your visual arts, your paintings, sculptures, and then we go to the audiovisual side where we then showcase, because not everyone, we can't take everyone from Zimbabwe to Osaka. So yes, you've got some artists that will go and showcase some of these things, but in an effort to also bring Zimbabwe to Japan, we have got a very strong audiovisual component to the exhibition and to our pavilion and to our National Day. So the audiovisual side will then show the people, show the smiles, show the vibes and the attitude of the people, show the food, the tourist attractions, the urban culture. When you say culture, sometimes people then imagine that tukutara nyaya dzenembe all the time, and takutara nyaya dzehari nezvinhu zvechinyakare all the time. Yes, chinyakare chiripo, and this is who we are, this is where we come from. Munhu asingazivi kwaanobva haangazivi kwaari kuenda. So it's important for us to understand those things. But at the same time, we've got an urban culture now, and culture is dynamic. So we also want to celebrate our urban culture, celebrate our youth, our fashion, our music, all the things that make us who we are today. So it's quite a wide-ranging exhibition that we'll put up on the National Day.
Indeed, wide-ranging. Our culture is so diverse. How did you come up with the people that are going to be to Japan?
In terms of if you're asking around the National Day, so the National Day is split into two. There is the official program, which has got some cultural performances, and then there is the business forum, which happens in the afternoon. Like I said, tukutungamidza ma artists, let people fall in love with us, and then there's the business forum in the afternoon, where our business people will be able to close the deals without much resistance, because vanenge vaakutida ivo vanhu vacho Japan and the rest of the world that is coming to Osaka. In terms of how people are selected, we have tried to be as inclusive as possible and gone around the country into the 10 provinces, picking artists that are exceptional in their spaces. This is unfortunately not the platform for up and coming and try. We've gone and picked the best of the best from the different provinces, and these are people that are into all these different genres of art and culture and exhibition, which is like all the arts genres that I mentioned: dance, poetry, instruments, theater, fashion, all of that. We have got artists from all the 10 provinces represented in the showcase and the showpiece that we'll put forward.
Wonderful, leaving no one behind.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for that wide selection, because we wouldn't want ramblings to say makangoita zveharare chete kujapan. Let me turn to Mkoma Munya. What kind of engagements have you planned with potential buyers and investors and partners from Japan, as well as other visiting countries, and what are your expectations?
I think Napoleon has nailed it. Firstly, let's take note that this is 6 months of engagement, not only with the Japanese market, but also with the 161 countries that are going to be there. And that's the first part. And then the second part is the National Day, which is the most important part, where where you have the business forum, and that business forum has been structured in such a way that the mining sector, you know, if you speak to the average miner in Zimbabwe, and if the gold sector, for instance, they'll say gold rukupisa, but what we don't have is we don't have equipment. What we don't have is we don't have capital. So you find that the mining sector is going there to establish relationships with companies that can bring in equipment, companies that can invest in the gold sector. Lithium, for instance, I mean, we are talking about beneficiation. We have the lithium. We have the lithium here. We have the iron. Thank God, Manize Awapo. We have the PGMs. But the cry on Africa all the time is Africa does not beneficiate, even though Africa has all these abundant resources. Where do you get the equipment? Japan is in the top 4 of the world's economies. That's where you find the largest and the most innovative, the advanced technologies. So mining is going to be key. Manufacturing, agriculture. Right now, we have had a beautiful season in agriculture. But again, the issue of how do we move from the ground kumunda, kubva kumunda kubhinzi zisipinzwe mugaba zvinoda vanhu vane technology yacho, and so manufacturing, you're looking at mining, even IT issues there, AI right now kutiko zvinhu zvizhinji including zvauri kuita George zvokutaura izvozvi vanhu vari kuinda mutechnology. Where do we find that technology? So we find that the business forum has been structured in such a way that it will take out the entire value chain in Zimbabwe to be represented there. But it's not only for the National Day. It's for all these 6 months to be able to identify and matchmake whoever you'd want to add value to the business that is in Zimbabwe.
Mkoma Munya, whilst on that issue, because you raised the issue of beneficiation and taking that beneficiation issue to Japan, do you feel that we have tatsvaga here vanhu vanochandonyatso-tsanangura kune vachashanya kujapan kuti ndo zvatiri kuda muzimbabwe nyaya yebeneficiation taramba tichingoitaura but it seems slow? Tinavo vanhu here maexperts achandomira kumberi koko achitaura nyaya yekupersuada kuti no toda kuti kuafrica kuzimbabwe beneficiation iende pamberi, zvigadzirwe muno, mabasa agadzirwe muno.
Rega ndikupe example. Ndakuudza kuti I had the opportunity yokuita coordinator weExpo yeZimbabwe 2005. Takaenda tichinotaura nyaya iyoyo yebeneficiation kuti vanhu akati todei zvikanzi we have mafoundries mujapan akawanda sereka, saka toda kutora cooking coal yomuzimbabwe yakawanda. Nobva taita business day ranga business forum yangaitaura Napoleon nobva vauya vakawanda, and then this minute expo yapera majapani aya ndokuuya because they are very, once they like you and they trust you, they follow up. That's the thing about Japan. Nobva auya. At the time Zimbabwe could not meet my demands of Japan. We're not ready. But if you look at what has happened within the area yeHwange now, in terms of my investments, aitwa muHwange, we are more than ready. So my companies in Zimbabwe, if you suddenly to look at the period at 2005 to where we are now, there's so much that has changed and there's so much preparedness. So companies in Zimbabwe know the gaps that year on year, the Chamber of Mines of Zimbabwe, identify my gaps are in my sectors within the mining sector. CZI does the same. So this time around, Zimbabwe is much more prepared to identify and to work with my potential partners in Japan than when we were in 2005.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Mkoma Napoleon, I'm coming to you now. Zimbabwe Day. It's the same issue yandabvunza Mkoma Munya. Preparedness yekuti tine vanhu kana kuti even our ambassadors, whether they are cultural, they are business, in terms of selling Zimbabwe, especially sweating Zimbabwe Day so that we get maximum leverage from that day where all eyes will be on us on Zimbabwe Day. How ready are we? Have we put the right personnel in terms of being cultural ambassadors, business ambassadors?
I like the statement you used of cultural ambassadors and business ambassadors. I think in terms of business, Munyika Muno, we are sorted. We are good. ikoko anditombowa ndinovatemba. That business forum is being led by Zida, and they have done some extensive work in terms of coming up with the panelists, coming up with the people that will speak, and also people that will interact whenever there are questions asked or there are concerns around what it is that we are trying to push as Zimbabwe and what it is that we are offering the world. When it comes to culture, per cultural ambassadorship, panoda a bit of training. So we have found the artists that are top notch in terms of performance. But when it comes to ambassadorship, we then have to have, and we've planned trainings and rounds of conversations to also coach. We cannot overplay or underestimate the impact that comes with all the things negative things that are said sometimes in the media about Zimbabwe, So sometimes general public, mukatora even munanogona sterek, mukati chimira apa chiita ambassador chitaura on behalf of the country, zvinhu zvinonetsa. My business people vazvijaira. They're always going to these big expos. They're always, and because ajera kutengesa business rake, it's easy for them to switch and say, actually, here are the investment opportunities in the country, because vajaira kutengesa at that level. For our artists, they have to be coached because they are the cultural ambassadors. They are the ones that kanawabva pa stage uchabvunzwa kunzi, oh, tell us, where is that move from? You should be able to say, oh, that dance move is called Chinyambera. It is found in the Masvingo province in Zimbabwe. And this is how we dance. And this is at which point, whether it's during the harvest season, during the planting season, and is it a spiritual dance? Is it a social dance? And then, you know what I mean? All those things are what the cultural ambassadorship should then come with. And we need to be able to make sure that our artists and our cultural ambassadors are well trained for that. So we do have plans in terms of equipping them for that. And I like the word you mentioned as well in terms of sweating the opportunity that would have been given. In terms of performance, in terms of the cultural exhibition and what we'll put up on stage, I can assure you, they are going to be dazzled, because we are putting something together that is both epic in terms of it being very cultural, Mushinyakare, but also very modern and urban in terms of its relatability. So we're doing the best we can. I'll emphasize the soft power of the arts to say sometimes less is more. We would like to put our artists ahead. Kana mubhaibheri maitonzi kana Mwari vakuda kuti muchienda kunoita zvishamiso in terms of your army, kana vakutumai kuhondo, vaiti put the musicians in front. Frontline anenge arani ma artists. So that's what we're trying to do as well, to say our frontline are our cultural ambassadors. They are the expression of culture is art, and would like it expressed. Would like you to see our people, see what we have, see what God gave us in terms of our heritage, and also see what we came up with in terms of our art and culture. And then mochizodhila nema-business people maskati ikoko chingoendai munosaina, hatichatauri zvakawanda, tatokutengeserai nyika kudhara. Irreviable.
Exactly. 28 minutes to 9. The program is State of Affairs here on Star FM, and tonight we are discussing Zimbabwe's participation at the Osaka 25 Expo in Japan and what is in it for Zimbabwe. Joining me in the studio are Napoleon Nyani, the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Day and member of the National Organizing Committee for Osaka 2025, as well as Munyaradzi Wengwere, the executive chairman and CEO of Buy Zimbabwe. Munya, coming to you, how does your participation at Osaka 25 Expo going to align with Buy Zimbabwe's overall strategy for promoting Zimbabwean products and services globally?
Buy Zimbabwe tine zvitatu. We say jobs, wealth, and pride. And part of it is really what Napoleon is saying. To say frontline Indian, if you can just have a minute, George. When South Africa moved out of apartheid, they had the same question. How do we sell ourselves as an economy? This is my hardcore, my industry and all that, and decided on culture to lead. And you remember that Yabakaita Umoja, where they told the story of South African. And Umoja opened up the business so that vanga wakuuya uchinzi munhu uyu ari kuuya nematomatoes. Don't worry about what President Donald Trump is saying about whatever, but munhu anouya nematomatoes, we should buy them and all that. So the first thing is to align with the arts, and sometimes that's a challenge now in the business in Zimbabwean way. Yokutiko, the relationship between business sector and the arts is not as strong as it should. Hopefully we can use OSAKA to say, iwewe businessman, you could be producing whatever you're producing, you could be a miner, but do you know that when you work with Japresa, you can attract millions into your mine to unlock your gold. So really, one opportunity that I see is to use OSAKA to get Zimbabwe to understand that for the country to do better in its investment, whether it's in tourism, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in mining, or whether in pharmaceuticals and the like, we need to clean ourselves. We need to take that spiritual element here, and when that is aligned within in Japan, hopefully Japan, the musician and the business people are not two separate people, but are one, and they can sell one message.
That should be music to Wanyani's ears.
Absolutely.
In his other life as the arts, but Napoleon, how critical is the private sector in ensuring that Zimbabwe's pavilion is a success at Expo 2025 and boost tourism, trade and investment, establishes new markets and further the country's national development goals in line with our NDS 1 and Vision 2030? And also, if you also want to respond to Mkoma Mnyaradzi's statement that it's time that business and the arts really become partners in the full sense of the word.
Manje mukandipa option yekuita second question yo andizeti ndinozoremembere wekutanga. Iwoyo mvunzo wakasimba, and nyaya yataurwa namukoma Munyaradzi inyaya svinu, ndo nyaya hombe, inyaya yekuti ndinoona sekunge pane gap in terms of our processes of Zimbabwe is open for business, our process of re-engagement. I think as a nation and as the business community, we have not taken advantage enough of our unique culture, our cultural expression in our artists, and of our unique stories that we have in this country. When a nation utilizes the arts, I'll give an example of film. Film has got so much power, it can override any speech, any advert, any vanoita macampaign kunonzikuita sei kuda kuconvince people kuti no, actually Zimbabwe is a good place. Those campaigns are good. However, we need to use the arts a lot more, because when you utilize something like a film, for an example, it stays for a long time. If you put it on a platform, ma video on demand platforms ariko mazuana, ekuti munhu anogona kuona a whole season a series paadira. The impact of the arts is that it stays in people's mind, number one. Number two, you're advertising without telling someone it's an advert. They're entertained, but they're already seeing. And the reason why you have Zimbabweans that walk around with a t-shirt yakanzi I love New York, hatoizivi, hastambosvika ikoko, hana kana idea kuti inotombonyatsoexista zveshuwa, ai wakaiona pamovie. And all of a sudden they've got an affinity for something they have no clue about. And that's the power of the media, whether it's movies, music videos, music, visual arts, mabuku chayo, my novels and stuff. So all of that has got impact, and it's soft power. Why we call it soft power is power nokubata usingazvizivi, and it grabs you and forces you to make a purchasing decision that you have no idea where it's coming from. You don't understand why you're buying Nike. but pane vakuintaisa. So if our business community was to understand that soft power of the arts, kuti ma-advert akanaka kuti come and buy this and that, it's at a low price, izvozvo zvine pazvinoshanda. But mukatora product iyoyo mukangoiisa mu-episode ye-film or mukaiisa mu-music video ingoripo pa-background, so zvine more power than the advert kutaura kuti hurry while stocks last. Okay, so we do desperately need for our business community to start to understand the power of the arts and to utilize them a lot more. Coming to the role of the private sector when it comes to ensuring the success of the National Day and the success of OSAKA 25. The private sector is what drives business generally. When the delegations are going to Osaka to say, come to Zimbabwe, there are opportunities. When the Japanese and everyone else that we are marketing to in Osaka, when they then come to Zimbabwe, they are not going to be limited to dama business hurumende chete or to dama business atakaona ku Osaka. They are going to come here open wide, wanting to see everything that is there. So the entrepreneurs that are in the country are going to benefit from that. The private sector or the private companies, whether they are blue chip companies or whatever, they are going to benefit from that. So it's important for the private sector to partner right now with all the efforts that are happening, because the Expo is for them. At the end of the day, this is culture, this is exhibitions, all that is the whole point of the whole Expo of the whole 6 months is to bring business to Zimbabwe. We then want to be able to make economic sense, and would like our economy to progress and to accelerate on the recovery path that it has been on. Ndonyaya iripo. At the end of the day, yes, toda kuti vatuone vanakirwe nesu, enjoy the vibes of Zimbabwe, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is the dollar. You know, so we would like the business to come. When the business comes here, it doesn't discriminate. It will go where the opportunities are. It will go where the good corporate governance is. It will go where business is being done properly. So whoever is doing business properly in Zimbabwe now needs to partner with OSAKA. It will be good to support the movements that are happening, to support the programs that are happening there, and to also make sure that your name is also spoken around those circles. Because kana investment yakuzouya vachatanga vaine PO box vozotarisa kumwe kwese, but vatanga kuti vevaya vatakataura navo kuOsaka zita reya ratakaona richinzi vanoita zvakati vari kupi, uyai tiite meeting. So I would encourage all private sector and businesses to partner and to come on board so that we can all exhibit together in Japan.
I'm loving the laser focus among the Zimbabweans here in the studio. Kuti vari kuziva zvavari kufambira. It's not a pleasure trip. Ungondoti andakaenda motora maselfie wodzoka hapana zvinenge zviripo. Mukoma Munyaradzi, are there any plans for product sampling, demonstrations, or rather interactive experiences led by Zimbabwe at the Expo? And if so, how are you going to measure the success of your participation?
I think the beauty is that the world has gone digital. You know, Japan is, you know that Japan is very strict, especially with the physical products. The standards Japan are very strict. So you may not be able to take products without going through processes of testing. However, ninya is a digital, ninya is an e-commerce. You can be able to get the Japanese market or all those 161 countries to have a sense of what you actually produce. So my companies in Zimbabwe, Napoleon has said it again, because of this unique Zimbabwe, from what I'm told, is one of the most, in fact, I hope I discuss Makira, my exam says Zimbabwe. But manziro andaitaini ndio kutiko pavilion Zimbabwe. From a technology point of view, vanhu vari kushamisika kuti zvamunenge munotogara muJapan imwe vanhu imimi makaichiwanepo chakadaiwo. They've done it into the future. It's a futuristic design yokuti inokwanisa kuconnecta neproduct yako yokuti chero hayo munhu asingakwanisi kuchidya sadza rako but papavilion racho anokwanisa kutoritesta and all that. So I think we need to take advantage of the digital framework templates dzaiswa ipapo as well as e-commerce dzatinadzo, so that we can connect Zimbabwean companies, Zimbabwean products with whosoever wants to get to know the about the Zimbabwean market.
This one will be for both of you. Lessons drawn from 2020 Dubai Expo that Zimbabwe can take to Osaka 2025. And I suppose you have monitored Munyaradzi, the various expos, and you are now saying we are more prepared than before. From Dubai, what lessons have we taken from there?
You know, these expos are not every 5 years, you know. Like if I can just, you know, you had Japan, you had Shanghai, you had Italy, and then you had most recently Dubai. And Dubai, unfortunately, yakaitika just after COVID. So you find kuti Dubai yakakanganisika nenyaya yokuti we're coming from a very difficult period in terms of cohesiveness. So one of the things that I've seen in terms of the preparation yaitika ye Osaka is that Zimbabwe has been much more cohesive. Zimbabwe has been clearer about how to sell the story of Zimbabwe, about what things to sell in Osaka. Some of those things, because of COVID, atina kukwanisa kuzviita. So we only took advantage of Dubai towards the end. So the greatest lesson from Dubai that I can discern is that we are much more prepared and we know what to say and what not to say. You said it. You said what not to say is important as well.
And Apollyon, lessons from previous expos, especially the Dubai one.
I think from Dubai as well, takadzidza kuti your pavilion should be engaging. Hazvisisiri zvezviya zvekuti munoenda moisa gazebo moisa maflyer moti vanhu vachauya vachitibvunza kuti munoita nezvei wotanga kuexplaina like a salesman. We have chosen this time to make our pavilion very experiential, an immersive experience where you get into it and you feel like you're in Zimbabwe. So this is where Mkoma Mnyaradzi was explaining kuti even the Japanese are saying, iyi technology sei muri kuita kunge mato ku top notch kweJapan, because we have made it an immersive a 360 view. I don't want to give it away too much because I think it will be good for it to be seen when we've launched. But it's an experiential experience yekuti ukapinda ukacheuka kusaiduku. There is if you've ever seen footage that is shot with a 360 camera, if you've ever experienced that, you it's as if wakagara mu studio muno wakagara mumba uchiterera, but you'll be transposed from where you are into the environment that we want to put you in. So vanhu vachasvika into an experiential experience. So the pavilion inokuattracta uruko not apa pane zviri kuitika apa. So people will be attracted by the technology. Once they get there, we need experiential content, and that will keep them there for 5 to 10 minutes. Eventually, by that time, you've already hooked them. Because munakana kuma expo kwa nanga ngofamba ka chingotarisa 10 seconds penyo bvapfurenda pa next and stuff like that. We want to keep them there for 5 to 10 minutes. How do we do that? It's experiential content. Nowadays, in terms of content in the world, we've gone past video content. Then we went to content here, reality TV. There's a time when everyone was crazy about that. Where are we now in terms of content as the world? We are in social media content vibes, right? TikTok era, style is don't matter. So now what we're doing with our content for that space is we are creating TikToks. When it comes to exhibiting our culture, we are not doing the boring normal stuff. We're doing, you know, on TikTok, some of the most popular videos are videos of cooking. Just someone, you know, putting ingredients down and over tora chakati. So we are having some of those demonstrations to say, this is how you make sadza. And then, you know, and it's nicely edited. You know, the way people do those quick edits on TikTok. These are things that people will stand there, and because people are in TikTok era and in TikTok age, they are quick to engage with things like that. Things like, even again, if you think about my social media style of content, my dance challenge. So we're also trying to get those kinds of engagements where you've got someone who is in Mavuku who is saying, hello, konnichiwa, my name is Chakuti, I'm in Mavuku, a suburb in Harare, but I'd like to teach you how to do the Kongonya. And then people are like, oh, okay. Then he says, right, you lift your left leg, you did this, and then now we've got people in the pavilion at a expo, which is supposed to be about business, and you've got people learning how to do Kongonya in your pavilion. What you would have done is you'd have sold your culture. Once they've got an affinity for your culture, they love you, they love who you are, they are going to be more interested in doing business with you.
10 minutes to 9, the program is State of Affairs, and we are discussing Zimbabwe's participation at the Osaka 25 Expo in Japan and what Zimbabwe stands to benefit from that. Joining me in the studio are Napoleon Nyani, is the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Day and member of the National Organizing Committee for Osaka 2025, as well as Munyaradzi Wengwere, the executive chairperson and CEO of Buy Zimbabwe. Koma Munya, what kind of support or resources have you received from the government or other organizations to facilitate your participation at the Expo?
Look, I'm aware that the government is supporting Osaka. There's a secretariat, but I'm also aware, and I'm involved in my different space with the fundraising initiatives from the private sector to support a lot of activities, including the arts. So right now, the call is for the private sector to realize that investment costs money. He said it, there will be a return on investment. And when the investors from Japan come to Zimbabwe, they won't say, we are going to select those ones, Angarpa Pavilion, Baruku government. They're looking for national opportunities. And I think we need as Zimbabweans to have a team Zimbabwe spirit. To say, if there is a delegation going to Japan and is going there with a story that's saying, in Zimbabwe we have the best minerals, in Zimbabwe we are working on incubation hubs, in Zimbabwe these are the other opportunities, come to Zimbabwe and invest. You too must learn to support those initiatives. So yes, there are some companies that have committed to supporting efforts in Osaka to enable themselves to grow, but we still need much more support. It takes a lot of resources to be at an expo for 6 months, talking to 161 countries and engaging with over 28 million visitors and having these business forums. And the call that we have for the business private sector is, if you want to grow, you need to invest a little bit of your money. The good thing is that the Osaka team has come up with very good packages that say, if you do this, we're going to take your logo there, we're going to Napoleon yokuti uchaita chitiktok chakadai chichitaridza pin dzako zichijaiva kana uchitaridza whatever a product ichiita iri patiktok and the like. The call now is, let's go as Zimbabwe so that we benefit as Zimbabwe.
Team Zimbabwe, putting Zimbabwe first more than anything else, and I'm just praying that during that period a sense of unity prevails, whether isusu vanenge vasara kumusha nemi muri ikoko, whether it's on social media, people are speaking with one voice to promote Zimbabwe, brand Zimbabwe ipromotwe. I know sometimes ukaenda pasocial media tichingodansurana tichibvarurana tichingodai
uzofane jara manje, you get it. Zvataura Napoleon kuti at the end of the day we need to be mindful isusu sezimbabwe kuti what is the outcome that you want. Ukapedza 1 week uchitukana nomwe munhu, result yako, will it be more money or will it be just an anxious angry person? But OSAKA is an opportunity yokuti hande uchilidiwa nema artist, so that iwewe company yako grows and all you're being asked for is contribute to that initiative that creates jobs, wealth and pride.
One of the concerns that have been raised, and this one is for both of you, I'll start with you, Napoleon, on the issue of taking up large numbers of people to such events, but at the end of the day you don't see much results. Is it a concern for you?
I wouldn't say it's a concern, because in the meetings that we've had, the Commissioner General of OSAKA, who's Mr. Alan Majuru, the CEO of Zimtrade, has overemphasized that issue. Because yes, it has been raised in previous events that we've seen, where people do end up raising those concerns. So he has overemphasized that to say we have to, everyone has to have a very well detailed job description of why they are going, and he has made that a very important point, and even to the extent of cutting teams. But no, team tikutonzwisisa kuti mese mune chekuita, and it seems critical, but no, we need to stay within budget. Saka zvoitwa sei apa, which has been very commendable, and I would say, it's important to, when it comes to events and issues like this, to run a tight ship, and I've experienced it firsthand. It's quite a tight ship, even with the team that is already gone. Now varku prepare for the launch next week. Varku shanda, because it's a very lean team. So there's havasi kutombowana time yekuti vangaswera vari paWhatsApp vachitipa maupdate unozoiwana zuva rapera, and vatoneta vazogara kuti right, ngatichitangai number 1 zvazodai zvikazodai. So I like the culture, I like the style of how things are being done. I think it is a tight ship that is being run, and I think it is efficient, and I hope it stays that way. But I'm not foreseeing any loopholes being created or anyone kwana. But I'm happy with the way things are going. I would say I don't see any wastage.
Before coming to Munya, Anzina Big Joe, his team, I'm an engineer based in the UK. From my studies and knowledge, I know the Japanese are a big fanatic of lean manufacturing. My question is, how much knowledge and preparation is invested in the team to demonstrate anything towards the direction to track the Japanese investments? That's Big Joe, is in the UK. Mkoma Munya?
Big Joe, I think that's another thing. Chokindra Japan, if you read the history of Toyota, kuti Toyota yakazoita number 1 say ivo vanhu vaigadzira motikari vanga vari kuamerica, because Japan yakatsvaga iyo lean manufacturing yokuti iwewe kana uchiita zvinhu zviri wasteful, ini ndichaita zvinhu zviri very efficient, where I use less, where I learn all the time. Now isusu tichinda kuJapan, that's one of the things that we must try to do. How do we make sure that our processes here, we need to be more competitive, especially my tariffs are where Comrade Trump and the world is becoming more expensive. You'll see Gutiko, I mean as well. You know what people are saying is that China is most probably going to be focusing on Africa, EU is going to be focusing on Africa. Saka Africa is going to be pakati pe competition yakaoma. So unless Africa recreates my processes avo so that we're less costly, we're more competitive and the like. So we need to take advantage of Japan. Maling processes are kuita wao. So my company omuno Zimbabwe anoziva ma problems are now. It is for them to go there and say, inini kandine high cost. Who do I tap in Japan and the latest technology so that inini I can bring that technology to reduce my costs and to be more competitive in a world that is becoming much more complex. But again, I was going to go back kunyaya. Team Japan, Team Zimbabwe iri kuitika. Ndio kuti ko one side inosupportwa ne public sector. Imwe side government. Vanhu private sector are paying for themselves. Second, in private sector choose pay for themselves. I wonder could anyone would say mind is a delegation yakawanda because shareholder wako ka achazoti kudu wawinge inayo. So I think from the private sector side is very clear. Kutiko, you're just going to go there with the minimum number that you can to learn what you can so that you can get the return on investment that you need.
Final words, Koma Napoleon.
In terms of final words, I also wanted to just respond to Big Joe. In terms of as Zimbabweans, are we prepared, and do we know what to expect in terms of the Japanese expectations in business? It's a great one, and one of the things that we were talking about in preparation and also making sure that our people understand, and something that I know is trained in business school in Zimbabwe, in universities, when it comes to the Japanese style of management, are all the different principles of ikigai, of kaizen, and kaizen in particular is more of a business principle in terms of continuous improvement and personal efficiency when it comes to business. So these are things that we are well aware of. I'm not even necessarily in the private sector. I work in the public sector, but zvinana ikigai nana kaizen izvo zvinhu zvekutoti ndozvatototungamidza kumberi pachienda ikoko tozati aiwa vanhu ava in terms of efficiency they are very big on efficiency. They are big on making sure the personal sacrifice and personal involvement in what you're doing. They're big on creativity. They're big on innovation. So these are all things that we have prepared and are making sure that we are putting our best foot forward on those particular issues. But just in terms of final words, I'd like to thank the Zimbabweans who've supported the effort for OSAKA. And this year, we are expectant in terms of our returns on the investment that we're making.
Mkoma Munya, final words?
We need to take advantage of 161 countries, 28 million is the world in one space. So OSAKA, Akuskwinda, as you said, Kwepreja, it's where we go there to push the Zimbabwean name forward and to end the return on investment. After all, 2030 is very close.
Big Joy, thank you very much. And that's a sound response from both of you. It demonstrates a good backbone to the cause. Love this. All the best team to represent us. The guys who are going to Osaka. Napoleon Manzwam, Big Joy is happy.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. We have come to the end of tonight's program where we were discussing Zimbabwe's participation at the Osaka 25 Expo in Japan that is starting on Sunday. Much appreciation to my guest Napoleon Nyani, the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Day and member of the National Organizing Committee for Osaka 2025 Expo, as well as Munyaradzi Wengwere, the executive chairman and CEO of Buy Zimbabwe. Also, a big thanks to the producers of the show, Lina Nyamangara and Norman Muchemwa. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Join me again next time on your favorite show, State of Affairs. And coming up next is the nationally famous show, Sungura Wednesday with Ndumiso. I am George Msumba, and it's good night.